welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. This particular video is a result of a request by one of my patrons. Not just one of my patrons, but someone who has supported me ever since he discovered Hot Chicks, the role-playing game, and has been purchasing each and every product I have produced ever since. Hey, Sadi. I will do requests at the drop of a hat. I like getting requests. You can leave them for me in the comments. And you don't have to be my patron to make a request. Anyone can, really. But, think about it. In the meantime, when I wrote Hot Chicks, Hot Chicks is a huge book. And it's not that the mechanics or the rule set is huge. There's just a lot of extra stuff in it. All the equipment and magical spells and superpowers and vehicles and everything I could pack into it. Victory is a little bit more concise. And Victory doesn't contain any information about a game world, so it didn't have to be as thick. And I wanted to keep it within a reasonable amount of pages. Both for printing purposes and because I wanted to be able to convey something, everything that you could need to use in a running or playing a role-playing game without having to buff that out. It relies a lot on the game master's imagination and on, eventually supplemental material. Because the rule set is designed to be streamlined, the whole point of it is to be kind of fast and so that you're not bogging down when you're doing combat or doing tasks. The game master can tell you how hard something is and you can roll and you know what you got right there. But it's not going to account for absolutely every situation that comes up. The closest game I have ever seen to a system that can take absolutely anything into account would be the Generic Universal Role-Playing System, or GURPS, by Steve Jackson Games. 3rd edition is still the best. Short of that encyclopedic and exhaustive rule set, which, don't get me wrong, is brilliant. Love me some GURPS. And to come up with a way that things that were not specifically covered by the rules could still be addressed. The one thing I never wanted to happen in a game that I wrote was for someone to want to do something cool and the game master to look down and flip through pages and go, nope, rules say you can't do that, to come up with something else. So there's a mechanic in the victory system called the deal. This is something that does not always exist in a role-playing system, but once you sit down at the table with the game master and players, it exists there anyway. It's not something that every game feels it has to codify. I wanted to be something there to encourage some give and take. Here's how the deal works. The player wants something. It's probably something that the character's improvement budget can't afford, or that is outside of the realm of the game as the game master has defined it. For some reason, the character on that sheet should not be able to have this item that the player wants. Ideally, this is a somewhat reasonable item or effect or ability. The game master takes the reasonability of the request into account and makes a counter offer. It's like, well, you can't afford those really expensive cyber legs. Well, how about I'll let you have the cyber legs without you having to pay anything for them, but you're going to have to take the flaw that you're being hunted by the people who made them because they want them back. Now, what this does at this level is it allows the player to have the something that they wanted but it also gives the game master a hook into the story. It lets them expand their world and their storytelling, and at some point in time, someone's going to come back and try and get those legs back. It's got other uses. In Victory, if you get attacked, you have a chance to defend against it, usually a parry or a dodge. And dodging is based on your agility stat plus an athletic skill, sports, extreme sports, or acrobatics. And that's pretty much generally the rule. Sometimes you don't have those stats. You know, my agility is not that high. My character doesn't have any points in any of those skills. Can I roll on a dexterity plus martial arts to try and deflect that instead of using agility? Or can I roll on intelligence plus instruments to see if I can spot a way around that attack instead of having to deal with it directly? If this is a reasonable request, the Game Master can just say yes. The Game Master can say, yes, but if you do that, you're going to have to roll against a little bit of damage anyway, because you're not going to be able to get entirely out of the way. It, again, allows the player to take a better advantage than they would normally have, at the cost of giving the Game Master, well, maybe I can damage them a little bit. Maybe I can complicate the situation. Or maybe the Game Master really doesn't want to annihilate that character right now and just says, you know what, yeah, that sounds reasonable. You go ahead and do that. Just about every physical action that you can take is covered in the rules. You know, jumping and lifting and punching. Sometimes, you know, a character will want to do something super spectacular, something that somehow couldn't be covered by a regular use of the extreme sports skill or what have you. And I've used extreme sports for a lot of really, really crazy stuff. But okay, players are amazing creatures. You should really study them sometimes, because players will come up with stuff that the game master never expected, none of the other players ever expected, the person who wrote the rules for the game that you're playing never expected. Players are brilliant, and there's a lot of them, so there's going to be this constant cascade of stuff you never imagined. The deal is a way for that amazing creativity to still be expressed at that game table without there being a specific page and chapter behind exactly how that gets done. Can I run along the fragments of the house as it's exploding to try and get out of the radius of the explosion? Well, that's not covered by the rules. Well, maybe. How much risk do you want to spend on that? Having a statistic like risk, or something that you can spend on extra exertion or using superpowers, always gives you something to throw a bargain. Well, I'll give you 5 risk for that. How about you give me 10 risk for that, and if you blow this roll, you're taking 2 shrugs. Page 15 of the Victory System Core Rulebook is the deal. If the players are all sitting around looking at their character sheets and they haven't been able to figure out a way out of a situation, I don't know if we can beat this guy. I don't know if we can get past that trap. I don't know if we can survive this disaster. The Game Master can sit back and go, okay, you know what? The deal is in full effect. Which is a signal to the players that encourages them, okay, at this point, you come up with stuff. I don't care. You brainstorm. Come up with something, and I'll let you know what it's going to take. The deal requires trust. It is a function of the fact that I wrote the Victory System with my personal philosophy that a role-playing game is not a competitive exercise. You have one person at one side of the table guiding the narrative and handing out consequences and rewards. and you have people on the other end of the table whose job it is to overcome difficulties that the game master has placed in front of them. This can lend to a adversarial perception of this relationship. We are trying to fight you, you are trying to fight us. That is not actually the case. The game master is generating opposition, but the game master themselves is not opposing the players. Everyone there is there to do one thing. This is in my opinion, but I wrote the game and I wrote this into the game, so I get my opinion to be the way right now. Everyone at the table is doing one thing and one thing only, and they are telling a story that has never been told before. The game master can buy a pre-prepared adventure with rooms listed out step by step. This room does this, this room does this, this room does this. Sit down and read it out beginning to end, playing this through for the players, and if they do that for 2 different groups, they will get 2 different games. No matter how set that adventure is, no matter how well written or in stone that supplement is written, players will manage to find a way to screw that up. No plan survives encounter with player characters. You're there to tell a story, and it's one of the purest and most amazing forms of free-form storytelling ever. Because while you do have this game master who ostensibly is everything in the universe and everything that the characters are going to perceive in that universe, everyone that they're going to meet, everyone they're going to fight or befriend or fall in love with or seduce or all of the above, the game master is there to facilitate the telling of the story. The people at the other side of the table, the players at the game, they are there to tell their part of the story. This is what my character does in this story. It's not one character as the hero and everyone else is a follower. Everyone at the table is there for a little bit of spotlight, including the game master. The deal can happen when that's what you're trying to do. Players not trying to get something that's going to make them automatically destroy absolutely everything in front of them. That's not a compelling story in any way, shape, or form. I get into fights and I never lose. Well, that's, might be fun for a little while, but it's boring. There's a system in the game so that player characters can take damage for a reason. And tension. At the same time, the game master, well, you can try that, but if you blow this roll, you're going to die. And I'm going to tear your character sheet in half because you deserve that. If I hadn't had game masters like that, I wouldn't have that example. You're not there to beat each other. You're there to tell a story. So I want my character to have an advantage. There's a bad situation coming up. I need my character to be able to get an edge. There's a terrible something going on and my character needs to do something completely outrageous. Can I burn some extra risk, or can I give you a shrug? I mean, I'll break my leg if I screw this up, but come on, what can I do here? That's to overcome a difficult complication. Game Master put that complication there, but not because they wanted to see the players fail, but because they wanted to see the player characters struggle. That's what it's about. If the player characters do not struggle to overcome adversity, there is a very bad story. If there is not sufficient adversity for the player characters to struggle against, that's not a terribly good story. A game master is going to push things. I've got amazing gaming groups. This is a function of the fact that I've had these groups for years. And I have played with these people on and off every week or every other week for, God, the better part of a decade. And that's led to having amazing character dynamics. You can hand these groups a set of pre-made characters. We did that last Wednesday night. Josh ran a Weird West game in the Victory system, and he made characters and handed them out, and we had a blast. And our character dynamics, our group dynamic, as these characters fleshed out really fast, because while we understood and played that the characters might not know each other very well, we were able to fill in enough information about how we were going to act in this that we gelled. As a group, we gelled almost immediately. As a game master, I can throw stuff at these groups that I would never throw at a 4-hour pickup convention game. I don't know the people across from the table. I start out a little bit slow. Suddenly a shot rings out, and see how they react, and let them build up. It's a task and a skill to get your maximum amount of chooch out of a 4-hour game by building that character dynamic and watching it develop in front of you. But when you get to that group that you've had for a while, and you know how those people think, and that they're already thinking of ways to come up with stuff that you haven't thrown yet, challenge rating is just a concept, maybe a guideline. I will throw stuff that they can't beat. I will throw stuff that the numbers say they can't beat, because they're going to beat it. They might take advantage of the deal. That's what it's there for. They might come up with an idea I never imagined. My amazingly horrible bad guy that I spent days doing art for, and here he is, and what are you going to do? Rah! And they might take him down in 2 shots. And that can be an amazing story depending on how they do it. It didn't always used to be this way. I've had tantrums over my bad guys getting wiped out too fast. In the past. Sorry, Joe. The Kamidon incident. But, as I've been going through pictures of my old stuff and came across a couple things that it might have been triggering. But, as it stands with the groups I have, and the groups that I've had in the past that have had this duration of camaraderie, and where we have learned to trust how each other think, yeah. The deal covers when I go too far as a game master. The deal covers when the players have failed to bring their best and realize that they are in trouble. It allows for things to get amazingly huge, tremendously out of control. Running kung fu battles through shopping malls with 20 or 30 ninjas on jetpacks following along, or motorcycle chases on the highway. There's giant monsters coming out of the skies, and all you've got is what you would normally have at your average Boy Scout campground. Those are amazing stories waiting to happen, and misplayed, they can be tragedies after which everyone is making up a new character. That can be a good story, but if you aren't there yet, if you have not got the story that you're looking for, you throw the deal. The deal's in full effect. The deal is in full effect. What do you want to give me so that you can get out of this? So, again, page 15 of the Victory System Core Rulebook. If you hit the link to my catalog down below this video. You can have a look, or hit me up and maybe I'll just send you a copy. You know that part where you say the rules say you can't do this? Don't do that. Don't do that unless it's something that is overreaching or unreasonable or wouldn't ever possibly fit. Someone comes up with something that you think as a game master, hey, that'd be cool. I really wish I could let them do that. Let them do that. It would be cool. And that's what you're all there for. Thank you very much for following me along on this particular exploration of some of the mechanics that I've designed. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have questions or comments, if you have used a system similar to the deal in the past, or if you've even used the deal itself, leave me a comment. Questions, comments, things you'd like to hear me talk about, go ahead and leave me a comment. I'll love getting a comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you'd like to see these videos as soon as they come out, and why wouldn't you? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the little notification bell so you're alerted as soon as my videos come out. If you really dug the video and you would like to help out in a more substantial fashion, please feel free to hit me up on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.